I choose to study accountancy in Letran Calamba because of the well-planned and polished program curriculums, each equipped with qualified and experienced professors, helping the students be competent and effective professionals in the future. Aside from the academic aspect that is offered in the colegio, Letran also conducts various extracurricular events, making the college experience of students memorable and enjoyable despite the difficulties faced from their respective courses.
Hey you! For the past year, other tutorials that I've seen, way more efficient. I'm gonna try damn idiot. Here we go! You're happy with, and you're... We click somewhere on the playback window and head over to effects controls. Once here, you should see this, a text box that you can expand. Head on into there and suddenly we have quite a few variables to change. Finn, no! We said no being an idiot this time, alright? We're just doing tutorial stuff today. You got it? Okay. First thing I usually do is change the font to one which I've been using for my subtitles previously, keeping that continuity of the brand I talked about in my thumbnail video. Branding is key. When that's done, go and select the central alignment option here. This is going to be a real time saver for the whole process, especially later on. Below this, you'll find these variables which change the appearance of your subs. What I usually do for mine is add a small amount of stroke, make sure the color is set to black, and play around with the variable until I'm happy with how it looks. Hey, that's pretty good. I also add a very subtle drop shadow so that the text is...
Do you ever wonder how some of the biggest creators in the world
In today's video, I'm going to show you how your this video is called "You Want to Try It Out." So if you're with as that I'm in your Premiere Pro to generate a jump into Submachine, you first need to use the text panel in Premiere Pro to generate a transcript. You can see I've already generated my English transcript, and what I recommend doing is reading it carefully so there's no typos, because the caption generation process will be smoother later on. Now we can click on Create Captions, and it's important that we open up the preferences here, and there's three important things we need to do to make sure the word-for-word animation works. The first thing to do is change them and then return the word, right? You need to open up the MoGrid file and essentially into a motion graph. My very own plugin for Premiere Pro, and it's called the Premiere Gal Toolkit. So if you want to stylize in Premiere Pro, but I just released my very own plugin for
started to first use this go for clip my video box to next. Now that you're going to want to do is type your caption in this box where it prompts you to. Now that you have your text, there's a bunch of settings to play around with, like changing the font size of your text. You may want to drag the edge of this panel so that you can see all of the settings. Additionally, any of these small grid squares will allow you to change the position of your caption in the frame. You can do this by dragging this plus button in the captions panel. Then I'll just drag it, so let's add our next caption by clicking this plus button in the captions panel. Then I'll just drag the middle of my caption to reposition it, and I'll drag its ends to match the duration of my next bit. Burned into my definition, but I'm going to select open captions because I want my captions permanently burned into my video for social media. Now let's drag the captions from our project panel onto the option will be for standard definition closed captions, which allows the user to turn them on and off. Below that, there's an option for closed captions for high definition, but I'm going to select open captions because I want my captions permanently burned into my video for social media. Now let's drag the captions from our project panel onto the track above your video clip on the timeline. And I'm just going to drag my caption clip's end so that its duration matches my video's duration. Alright, so each individual caption
I choose to study
I'm going to show you how to create this word-by-word animation in Adobe Premiere Pro. Grab your type tool and then click and it'll create a new text graphic layer. So here's where you can type out your first word. Let's type out I. And in the effects control panel, I'm going to drop down that text graphic and I'm going to add a keyframe to toggle animation on the source text and move my arrow key over. I'm going to highlight the text and change it to something else. And you'll see it creates a new keyframe, and I can keep doing this pretty easily. I can add a scale keyframe. It's animating and getting larger at the same time. I'm going to show you how to create this word by word and
In this video, I'll show you how to make this typewriter effect. But before we begin, I just want to mention the typing sound effect comes from Envato Elements. They have over 500,000 sound effects, including over 4,000 typing sounds alone. And right now, you can get 70% off your first month, so definitely check it out. Okay, in Premiere, I just added a video clip to my timeline, as well as a text clip above that. First, let's create our cursor by right-clicking inside the Project panel and going to New Item, Black Video. Then simply drag the black video above your text clip on the timeline, and make sure it's lined up with it. Now, with your black video selected, go over to Effect Controls and turn off Uniform Scale. Then increase the scale width to 1.5 or however thick you want your cursor to be. Next, decrease the scale height until the cursor is just a little bit taller than your text. Okay, now just drag the position's first value to the left to move the cursor to the start of your text. And you might want to adjust the position's second value a bit so that it's more centered. Moving on to the animation, let's go over to the Effects panel and type Linear Wipe into the search box. Then drag the Linear Wipe effect onto your text clip on the timeline. Make sure your text clip is selected and go over to Effect Controls. In here, start by positioning the playhead at the beginning of the clip. Now click the stopwatch next to Transition Completion to create your first keyframe. Then set the transition completion to 100%. Next, move the playhead to roughly halfway through your text clip, and set the transition completion to 0%, which will create your ending keyframe. Okay, when I play this back, we have our wipe, but it's going the wrong way. To fix this, just change the wipe angle to 270. Now it's going the right way, but it looks more like a wipe than a typing effect, so we'll need to drag the second keyframe closer to the first one to speed it up. You might have to play around a bit with the speed to find the sweet spot. I think one letter revealed for every 2 frames is a good speed to aim for. Next, let's animate our cursor by first selecting the black video clip on the timeline, and in Effect Controls, make sure the playhead is positioned at the start of your clip. Now, click the stopwatch next to Position to create a starting keyframe, and then move the playhead to when your text finishes its reveal. Okay, now drag the position's first value to the right until the black cursor is a little after your text. This will automatically create a second keyframe. Now we have a rough version of our typing effect, but our cursor isn't quite matching up with the wipe. So in Effect Controls, you can use the keyboard's right and left arrow keys to scrub through this and adjust the position's first value as needed. You basically don't want letters to be revealed before the cursor, and you also don't want the cursor to get too far ahead. Mine actually didn't need too many adjustments, but don't be surprised if you need a few more. Alright, now this looks much more like someone is typing, but it'd be even more realistic if we had a blinking cursor. For this, just drag the front of the black clip to extend its duration for however long you want it to blink for before you start typing. Then cut your black video right where it lines up with your text clip, and just make a cut every 3 or 4 frames. Now, starting from where you made your first cut, delete every other cutout chunk of black video. And I'll get rid of this little extra piece at the end too, since it's not 4 frames like the others. Okay, cool, now my cursor blinks before the typing. To make it blink at the end as well, you'll just need to move the playhead to where the cursor animation ends